All right, let's jump right into this. On July 4th, 2026, a pretty monumental shift in global military infrastructure went down in the desert just east of Cairo. Basically, a brand new heavyweight stepped up and dethroned an 80-year legend. In today's Explainer, we're going to unpack the staggering scale of Egypt's new State Strategic Command Center and see exactly how it stacks up against the historical gold standard of military headquarters. So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by exploring the sheer scale of this new champion, then look back at the Pentagon's legacy, step inside Egypt's massive new campus, compare their design philosophies, and finally unpack the intense regional threats and priorities driving this colossal project.
Section 1. A new headquarters heavyweight. Let's get into it.
50.5 million, just let that number sink in for a second. That is the jaw-dropping amount of usable square footage inside the Octagon. It immediately claims the title of the largest defense headquarters on Earth. To put that in perspective, that translates to roughly 4.7 million square meters. We're not just talking about an oversized office building here. This is a totally deliberate reimagining of how a major regional power organizes, protects, and projects its military command infrastructure in the 21st century.
Moving on to Section 2. The Pentagon's enduring legacy.
Now, this is really a tale of two very different eras. The Pentagon's origins lie in the absolute urgent demands of World War II. The entire massive structure was literally pushed into existence in just 16 months, which is just an extraordinary feat of engineering under immense wartime pressure. Now contrast that with the Octagon. Construction on the Egyptian complex started around 2018 and took 8 years of deliberate, sustained national investment before being officially inaugurated by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on July 4, 2026. So one was born out of immediate global conflict, and the other, well, that was a calculated long-term strategy for a volatile future.
For decades, the Pentagon has embodied rapid, centralized command and mid-century engineering ingenuity. By housing the previously scattered War Department under one 6.5 million square foot roof, it brought just incredible efficiency to the U.S. military. And those famous 5 concentric rings, labeled A through E, they aren't just for show. They're designed so that, despite the enormous scale of the place, the 23,000 daily workers are never more than a 7-minute walk from any 2 points. It survived the 9/11 attacks and, honestly, stands as a globally recognized symbol of centralized power.
All right, Section 3. Inside Egypt's Octagon campus. So the structure literally gets its name from its unique geometry. Instead of concentrating everything into a single massive building, the complex is made up of multiple interconnected structures. You've got 8 outer octagonal buildings representing the 8 branches of the Egyptian armed forces. These completely encircle 2 central ministerial hubs, and all of these structures are linked by longitudinal corridors, creating this physically centralized nervous system that unifies the entire defense apparatus, while still keeping the branches distinct and distributed.
The really crucial point to grasp here is the massive disparity in the footprint. While the Pentagon is undeniably huge, the actual building sits on roughly 28.7 acres. The Octagon, on the other hand, is practically its own self-contained city. It covers an absolutely massive 22,000 acres. That's about 34 square miles. Because it has so much space, it functions as a complete military ecosystem divided into 13 distinct operational zones. We're talking hospitals, schools, residential quarters, places of worship, recreational amenities, meaning personnel and their families can live, train, and recover entirely within a highly secured perimeter guarded by dedicated Republican Guard units.
Section 4. A clash of design philosophies. Looking at the raw data, the sheer disparity is striking. I mean, the Octagon is nearly 8 times larger in total usable floor space than the historic American giant. But this massive difference in volume is actually driven by a profound difference in architectural philosophy. It's fascinating how these physical forms reflect both national identity and tactical needs. The Pentagon is all about mid-century American functional modernism. It's highly efficient, imposing, very pragmatic. But the Octagon, it deliberately draws on pharaonic architectural motifs. It honors Egypt's civilizational heritage, basically sending a clear message that their modern military is the heir to a long tradition of monumental state organization. And structurally, where the Pentagon relies on dense compartmentalization within one building, the Octagon relies on distributed resilience. So if one of its 13 specialized zones is targeted or compromised, the whole system doesn't go down. The others can continue to operate seamlessly.
Section 5. Navigating regional Middle East threats.
So why build it so big? Well, Egypt is surrounded by a complex web of overlapping crises. You've got ongoing maritime disruptions in the Red Sea, where Houthi attacks on commercial shipping have literally forced vessels around the Cape of Good Hope, directly hitting Egypt's vital Suez Canal revenues. Then there's the intense border stability and refugee dynamics along the Gaza border. Furthermore, proxy conflicts across Syria, Iraq, and Yemen involve non-state actors using advanced drones and precision munitions that can strike from way out. Add to that escalating cyber attacks on critical infrastructure and the ongoing counterterrorism operations in the Sinai Peninsula, and you quickly realize why a hyper-resilient multi-domain command node is an absolute necessity for them.
This massive scale is deliberately engineered as a tactical advantage. By separating operations into those 13 specialized zones, intelligence analysts, cyber specialists, and naval commanders are physically co-located in one heavily secured environment. This proximity completely compresses the decision cycle. If an incident happens in the Red Sea, leaders can fuse intelligence and deploy coordinated responses across the air, sea, and cyber domains instantly, without the friction of trying to communicate between geographically scattered agencies.
Section 6. Priorities, Power, and the Future.
Of course, a project of this staggering magnitude in a developing economy naturally sparks a pretty major debate. It forces a fundamental question. How does a state balance massive military investment with really desperate domestic needs?
We're looking at two fiercely debated perspectives here. On one hand, critics rightly point to pressing economic pressures, things like inflation, unemployment, and the urgent need for funding in social services, healthcare, and education. They question if these funds could have been better directed toward economic diversification. But on the flip side, supporters argue that national security is the strict prerequisite for any kind of economic development. From their point of view, a stable security environment is exactly what enables tourism, foreign investment, and long-term planning to thrive in the first place. Supporters often point to Egypt's successful counterterrorism campaigns in the Sinai as hard proof that sustained military investment produces the very stability needed for economic recovery.
Ultimately, the United States answered the call for centralized defense in the 1940s with a single, brilliantly efficient building born of a global war. Today, Egypt has answered it, with a vast, symbolically rich 50 million square foot campus, designed to navigate the multi-domain threats of the modern Middle East. It is a powerful assertion of capability, absolutely setting a new reference point for defense infrastructure that's going to be studied for decades to come.
And this leaves us with one massive question to ponder. As warfare expands further into cyber and space domains, will the sprawling, multi-node model of the Octagon become the new gold standard for global superpowers, or will it remain a uniquely Egyptian monument? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and for more, visit our website, Fair Solution.